Franklin Delano Roosevelt, do solemnly swear that you will faithfully execute the office of President of the United States.
On March 4th, 1933, a vibrant figure with a striped tie stood before Washington, D.C. and made his inaugural address as the 32nd President of the United States of America.
Let me assert my firm belief that the only thing we have to fear is fear itself.
Tens of millions of Americans tuned in to hear what this new leader would do for their poverty-stricken nation. His name was Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and in the first 100 days of his presidency, he launched a series of federal programs known collectively as the New Deal. The New Deal's focus was to restore America's prosperity and the quality of life of its citizens. However, critics of the New Deal, both from the 1930s and contemporary historians, have argued that the programs of the New Deal were too socialistic in nature and steered the nation away from free market capitalism.
What people don't understand about the New Deal, and what I've described in my book, 3 New Deals, is the fact that it's actually a manifestation of Franklin Delano Roosevelt's fascist agenda. Roosevelt assumed unprecedented power over Congress in a time of peace. At that point, the only check on the power of the executive branch was that of the Supreme Court. In Germany, a similar process led to Adolf Hitler assuming legislative power after the Reichstag burned down in a supposed case of arson in 1933. The National Socialists, the Nazis themselves, actually hailed Roosevelt's emergency relief efforts that he implemented in the first 100 days of his presidency as fully consistent with the Nazis' own revolutionary program.
An analysis of socialist patterns in New Deal economics.
There were a few programs like the Tennessee Valley Authority, which was a government-owned network of dams and hydroelectric plants, which employed many Americans. They were a bit socialistic in nature, but the main goal of the New Deal was to stabilize the long-standing capitalist system. You can see this through programs like the National Recovery Administration and the Agricultural Adjustment Act, both of which tended to organize a capitalist economy and get it back on track.
Although many New Deal programs had socialist ideals, they did not establish socialism in the United States. Norman Thomas was the Socialist Party candidate for president in 1936. He rejected the notion that the National Recovery Administration was socialistic in nature.
There is nothing socialist about trying to regulate or reform Wall Street. Socialism wants to abolish the system of which Wall Street is an appropriate expression. There is no socialism at all about taking over all the banks which fell into Uncle Sam's lap, putting them back on their feet, and turning them back to the bankers to see if they can bring them once more to ruin.
Regardless of what the NRA's purpose was, the Supreme Court unanimously named it unconstitutional. That means that every single justice of the court voted that it would give the executive branch too much power.
When you're working for the NRA, you'll get short hours and get same pay.
But does an excess of executive power equate to socialism?
Roosevelt succeeded in garnering power for Congress, but he was too cautious in using it. He didn't nationalize enough resources to be considered socialistic or even change the economic system in any real way.
The New Deal succeeded in establishing an entirely new economic system in America, one that is commonly referred to today as the welfare state and the regulated economy. Social Security was all about using the force of government to take money from people in order to give it to other people. It was the crown jewel of Roosevelt's New Deal. He got the idea of Social Security from the German Socialists and Hitler's program of National Socialism.
Social Security is a safety net. It was created for elderly Americans who have already put their hard work and money into the system.
One of the most controversial programs of the New Deal was the Tennessee Valley Authority.
The TVA allowed the government themselves to employ a bunch of American workers to undercut private industry and utility companies by competing unfairly. It's no wonder that the great German biographer and Roosevelt specialist Helmut Magers was able to draw many parallels between the TVA and Germany's own East Prussia plan. You see, we're just lucky that there were a lot of great businessmen and government officials who were perceptive enough to stand in the way of the TVA's socialist potential.
It was partially due to the fear of socialism in the 1930s that Roosevelt wasn't able to shift the economy much in the short term. Overall, Roosevelt's legacy is that of a leader who never gave up and used many different strategies to try to recover from the stock market crash of 1929. His New Deal had some programs which were socialistic in nature, but were more concerned with stabilizing industry and business and did not establish socialism in order to do so. Today, the United States remains a capitalist mixed economy, not a socialist one. They are a market economy with some government regulatory oversight and some government-sponsored aspects. Roosevelt was concerned with preserving the United States as a nation where hard work and a strong willpower will lead to success and prosperity.
This great nation will endure as it has endured, will revive and will prosper.
This concept of the American dream is always shifting, but is still alive today.
No matter how hard we are tested, we look to our faith and our faith in one another. No matter what the challenge, we've always carried the American dream forward. That's been true throughout our history.